Sitting. Okay,
so we'll do the refuge here. I take refuge until enlightenment is reached. By the merit of generosity and good deeds, I attain Buddhahood, lost in dreams.
Tuchina Samala, Tata Yoga, anything Jola Kalasa, so fair. And your job yet and the Miller in cheese needed, it is.
Just in case slavery there.
So thank you so much, everybody, for practicing yoga so well this morning, and then returning, again after lunch to practice meditation together. When we practice, spend our time like this, then we're really making use of our precious human birth, complete with the 18 measures and endowments.
Any Arisen Tanjer job jet and Miller in cheese in it. Miller Toa Tanker, Miller in cheese in it, Kale Cabor. Any Miller in chin, Tanjer job jet, the Miller in cheese in it, Tambo Chula chip, any Yamin and job. Gelatin at any so la Caressina. Chula chepa Tomai, but Yam the Gumpa Dinaji. In the jaw, naked, jaw yodesa. I can't enjoy a woman of the she gone jam the Danyamne generation. Big God, the draw got it down, Musada, Kalaka to go Maja, Desavia, Pomarena in a young Gange, younger, Chuchia. Let the top and jam the top, and then Miller the Jeep to some sober, chula chair. Those I have for Kalash and both the digit to ya and so. Only the Sonam Jinny, guide in the trash, Yamne Joanna, then also pay Gom Joanna, didn't pay, listen, you got a pin for your rest.
So, what really determines, that having a precious human birth, one with the lineages and endowments, it's not just having, taking birth in the higher state of human beings, but really having the most important aspect of all these lineages, 18 lineages and endowments. The reason why they're the 18 lineages and endowments is that they facilitate the ability to engage in dharma practice. So when we have a precious human birth, it means that we're able to dedicate our lives to dharma practice. And having, it's also not just meeting with the dharma. One condition is having a precious human birth and meeting with the dharma, but not just meeting with the dharma, but having the ongoing conditions to actually continue to practice dharma. So like your conditions here, having a place such a sacred space in which to practice with the Jowo Buddha, and having the instructions, having spiritual teachers, it is and all of the conditions that also help to facilitate. So like, for instance, if we're going hungry, if we don't have enough to eat, and we have to instead be really focused on, how are we going to survive, getting our basic needs met, then that also doesn't facilitate, the capacity to engage, really, dedicate ourselves to Dharma practice. But when we don't have to be so concerned about, getting our basic needs met, because we have, pretty fortuitous circumstances, and we have all of these conditions that enable us to engage in Dharma practice, this is a result of our merit. And this is really having a precious human life, that with all of the abundant and favorable conditions for Dharma practice. So recognizing our fortune, our good fortune, and our merit is an important part of our practice to really feel a sense of gratitude and rejoicing in our own situation, to really, essentially, to really be grateful, to recognize how fortunate we are, and to have a sense of gratitude is really important. And this kind of, really delighting in our kind of virtuous capacity situation where we can practice Dharma, really feeling a sense of gratitude, then also that practice of gratitude benefits both the, there's benefit both mentally and physically.
Ini gomja shada de so me ma po te labden so lo chen ta garasana ke lu changpo chi ini meg ta nam na chudu na de la yore en de lu changpo ini me na te la pa ni meg cham de na yang dam dan ni ko ro ni ka yora ni ko ro ro che na ya zo po sang je ni Gom jab the kapsala, ni ki karesana. De mau tata tisun samna te matang tata ngona, tini wak ngona tin. Ni long ma wak ta automatic in dora. Ja me pas so now and nam jun do yere automatic. On tin de ma ta yang tin de tin. Yang jimban de ji som na yang ter lu yang chati ten samna ta. O tin de no te From Danvers, la parte da hotel so den die Jana Jere, die Nyamja Jena Jere. De omine die Charisma. Bomba dan. Und das so lele gemacht. Ni karte tempo dan ma de the cat hadang son ma de the o kon de ni de ya ti so ta chong mani dan de so ta der dan garai di. Lulu je so Lulu Majan Tombo de Nipatain Naya down Gitain Naya Sindrit Trouble the Jeden Gompo Mat. Then the Lulu Thomas Lulapon.
With that, and feeling a sense of, gratitude for our really fortuitous circumstances, then we can direct the mind to the practice of calm abiding, or Shamata. And, also we went through this already today, or yesterday, so also, reviewing some of what we went through yesterday. You can begin by really paying attention to the posture, making sure that the spine is straight, and assuming, if you are familiar with the 7-point posture of Vajrayana, of which, some of the most important points are the straightness of the spine, and really having a straight spine, an erect posture, and then directing the gaze down in front of you, sort of off the tip of your nose, and having not closing your eyes, but also not having the eyes wide open, but sort of a comfortable gaze that is cast down. And if we can close the eyes, but sometimes with closing the eyes, this can kind of promote sleepiness. And so if we have a tendency to doze off or get sleepy, then it might not be so helpful to meditate with the eyes closed. And if you get sleepy, it's good to pay attention again to straightening the posture. The straightness of the posture really helps to counteract sleepiness. So straightening the spine, opening the chest, brightening the awareness. And as we meditate, it's important to feel a sense of commitment to not just getting lost in thoughts, that we're staying present and we're not following after the thoughts that arise in our mind, thoughts of past, present, or future. And we can just allow our attention to sit with our breath as we breathe, and allowing ourselves to just breathe automatically and keep the attention lightly tethered to the breath as we breathe in and out. And our awareness is present. We're here with what we're doing. We're sitting, we're breathing. And if we get lost, if we get caught up in thoughts and we forget, then we gently bring our attention back and continue. Just relaxing, really allowing, even though we're in this posture, we can be in this straight posture, but also really be comfortable and relaxed. So relaxing and allowing your hands, you can either do the gesture that she taught us earlier, with our hands on our knees and the thumb and ring finger joined, or comfortably in your lap with one hand resting on the other and perhaps your thumbs joined, or just gently resting your hands on your knees. And directing the gaze, down to the in front of us. And just relaxing into present wakeful awareness. Oh, sorry. Oh, I missed a couple of things going down. And then also, the mouth is not completely closed. There's a little bit of space, so that our mouth is sort of naturally resting. Our tongue is against the palate, just resting on the palate, and our arms are sort of, there's a little bit of space between the torso and the crook of our arm as our hands are resting. And our shoulders are back, and our chest is open. And so we can, and our legs can either be folded, in the Vajra position, or the half lotus position, or half lotus posture, or just comfortably folded. If we need to sit in a chair, that's fine. We can just have our feet comfortably planted on the floor, and the main thing is continuing or maintaining the straightness of the spine. And so important, again and again, she said, is relaxing, really being relaxed in the posture, and being comfortable. So if we have pain, we can adjust so that we become comfortable, and it's the relaxation that also helps us to not have pain in the meditation posture. If we're tight, if there's tightness there, then we, our knees hurt, our back hurts, and this tends to come hand in hand with the pain. So really relaxing comfortably into the posture is important. And so first we will do some meditation using the breath as our anchor, just allowing our attention to rest with the breath. As we breathe in, we're aware and conscious as we breathe in. And as we breathe out, we're aware that we're breathing out, and we're just staying attentive in this way to the natural rhythm of the breath as we automatically breathe in and out.
you. Good meditation. No sleeping. And don't relax, please. Little bit deep. And this leg straight on this. Now we are other meditation. Yes, today says sometimes people who not om ahong the take dodgy de palgo you Lhasa. Not in so. Long ya young capsule om can number some. In it, neighbor girls are can number some. Mando girl hong can number some. That is jade, chicken mother chick, dodo nation, ya young om dodo chick, ya le om dodo chick, and then there's some on dodo the mando so to go mother. Jade go. Example, om ahong sutima som to the land, then Jonathan, then long jungle jack and number.
So now we'll spend some time also elaborating a little bit on the breath meditation with what was also introduced yesterday, and some people expressed that they really enjoyed the Vajra recitation. So that is, again, just to refresh your memory, that as we breathe in, we're mentally reciting the syllable Om on the in-breath, with the pause, and then mentally reciting Om with the out-breath. And again, it's just like a mental note of Om, Om as we breathe. We're not visualizing, it's not like a solid Om is coming in and then a solid and a solid Om. It's just a mental note to stay tethered to the breath. So again, Om on the in-breath, with the pause, and Om with the out-breath. And she said at first we'll recite 3 times together and then just go into the silent mental recitation. Again, really making sure that you're relaxed in your meditation, relaxed and alert.
Taka rependent under yellow lama, but we want to partner with the charis.
So also noticing if your shoulders are slumped a little bit forward. So something that you can do to help open the posture is rotating the shoulders up and then back, so that then the chest is forward and the shoulders are dropped back. So your spine is straight, the shoulders are back, and the chest is forward. So really the posture does so much to help and support our meditation. So we'll so first reciting, she said we can recite Om Ahom together 3 times, and then again just having it be a mental note, a mental recitation together with your breath as we meditate together in silence. You can Om Ahom
Good. Much better. Yeah, look, got the chance.
So share some of your experience, please. Which method seems to work better for you?
Okay.
So I suggest I like the mantra presentation. The reason why is so when I first started meditating, so I'm a beginner. When I first started meditating, I had this, like I said yesterday, waterfall of thoughts, and I get frustrated because I have my initial impression with meditation was you're just in this state of emptiness and completely blissed out and no thoughts. But for me, it's the opposite. I got 1,000 thoughts. When I get frustrated, I just stop because I think it's not a good meditation. But my question is, when you have these thoughts, it's actually normal and you should accept the thought and then go back to the mantra or the breath. So that is what helps me. But I guess my question is, are you still getting the benefit of meditation when you're going through like a session where there's just a lot of thoughts? Because normally I just quit.
Ini kong kasang laka nangchin Georgie devati tesa kong la ina tesa lagre yagre. Chitang gong yaya la sabare. Dang samsam sentesa yogi ore gain sena tambo gong sayate nene dendati tongbani nangla nene dene dewe ramshin yojede dene ya kong dendanyam yung chune yumare namto junshin leba yogi ore chubab namshin di gagma tuba dene kong samsam de sim shungne dene yogi ore da gong yogi yumare dene na samjatna dasare samgarwa yine akasang dene kong sam somchichina dampo de pena dampo de garsi namto mampo yona namto de modin yamcha de la yamte pena oma hong de che de ba de la yam de bazo denda cheya yojire yine am garsi be namto mampo yona de jesu dangi che yona mato de gom ya ki ditsu di trola 로성의 양나 다둥 펜토 요르래
펜토 요르 trola 로성 말이지. 내 당보 받아 가장 주변에 지금 아니 저통은 차 야통은 차 도안통 당 차단이 좀 코와 찬도라 차단이 좀 코와 찬도라 된뒤에 남도 le tambo pala nam to mang po le kre le na yin ne yanti ga la ne ga go san na mang ma to ga do ya yo ma res ti nam to te le chi kare su nam to ji se ma da ne te ni ta ta nga no nam to te kare cha sa ti ga no de ne nam to se le do te le ka ho te le te thong do ya te yo ma res ni ran sha ran do su para me so por pen so shir go ti tan na ta ne shir go na so po char ka do那些现在钱的那么多的钱的，比俺们大这个呢，人家过来让下让这是，让那下让那种着的，这呢这搞个什么这个的出来着嘛，那当不管这样的。
So she is saying that, this is really a very common experience, especially at the beginning, for beginners, that it's quite incredible, the constant barrage of thoughts, discursiveness that arises. So she said, but you don't need to feel like you're doing something wrong or that the meditation wasn't any good. It's definitely not wasted effort because you're noticing what you weren't noticing before. So she said, even though in the beginning it can be like this, we as human beings, we are what our experience is mostly comprised of is attachment and aversion. So we see forms with the eyes, we see a pleasant form, and there's, we're drawn to that form. We see a form that we perceive, that is unpleasant, and we're averse to that form. So all of the senses are experiencing this, receiving this input, and then the mind is reacting with attachment and aversion all the time. And that's what keeps us wandering in cyclic existence. That's the force that perpetuates samsara. And so when we start to meditate, we see the barrage of thoughts that mostly consist of attachment and aversion. And this is really uncomfortable. But if we try to suppress it, that's not going to work. If we try to stop the thoughts, in fact, however much we try to stop the thoughts, they're likely just going to increase. So as much as we're trying to get rid of the thoughts, then that will actually cause there to be more thoughts. So as you said, we accept that we're witnessing the thinking mind, but the key is to try not to get entangled, to not follow after, to just witness their arising and their passing. So that, if we just let them be and we hold the light of awareness to them, then they arise on their own and they also dissolve on their own. And so we get to the point where we can just witness the arising and dissolving of thoughts without getting involved, without following after. So they're just like reflections, empty reflections in a mirror, that just these empty appearances that appear in the mind. So there isn't any, so we're practicing being aware and holding awareness, and the thoughts arise, but we do our best not to get entangled, or if they do take us off, we come back to awareness again and again. And then eventually it's just a process of watching them arise and dissolve on their own, and they do sort of gradually diminish.
And that not to charge the pay for it. Not to charge the check the thing with the gum chatters. Gum. Then nothing lulu to gum on the lulu chadiga. Send the negro. Send nature chandid. The shot saw you. What shot down put on the dinner. Shot the door the mao on his down put the kaga hakoda. Then he sent the tampo pa. Sama the chandu. And Sam could be charisma. Nam thought that some changre. Then chant the captain pay for it. Nam June Chiranso Chiran and Opa Jadere, Keta Shedere, Leka Leden, Nam to Juchemo. Muzi Tokoyo, Hakoyama. They were Hamo, Muzi Mata, only Nata the Katana Lhasa. Chat and cheaper picking and tone and Nata level. Nata Eugene the Canil of the Hakoma. They indigenous stress lava today. More stress chanting. Tata put on the Len, Lulu, Jended, Sem nature the Ravam the Jand, and Namto lava the Hakoy. Namto lava there, gum chatteres. Then Namto lava tongue, Dela or Namto the Yapo Charson, the Dela Java, the other. The doctor Jason sent it to my chego. Lama the Jacores.
So actually, it's a good sign. What you're experiencing is actually a sign of the meditation happening, working, because you're recognizing the flow of thoughts, which is really something that goes largely unrecognized ordinarily. And so what's happening is you're relaxing the mind, and you're relaxing and you're looking at the mind, and we're looking inward. And so then we're seeing how much activity there is when the mind. So this recognition of the constant flow of thoughts is the first sign of the mind starting to settle, starting to develop some stillness, some abiding. And so it's just like the example she gave yesterday of the dirty water. The water is all stirred up. It has all the mud and the sediment. And first, it takes a while for the sediment to settle. And we have to, at first, as we recognize, the nature of the water and the sediment, they're mixed, but it's actually the water is still there. The clear water is there. And then as we rest it on the table, gradually the sediment falls to the bottom, and then we can see the clear water on top. So it's also a process that takes time. But these initial stages are one of really seeing just how active and constant the thinking process is, all of the thoughts in the mind. And it is progress, because ordinarily, when we're walking around, when we're doing things, we're speaking to people, we still have that constant barrage of discursiveness, or all of the, the unceasing flow of mental chatter, but we're involved in it and we're identifying with it. We're not noticing it as that. And then when we settle, when we sit, when we look, we see it. So that you're in the process of starting to see what's actually going on all the time. And that is a good sign. It means that we're meditating. That is actually what meditation is, especially at the beginning. And she said, not recognizing, not beginning this process of settling the mind through meditation, then we're just always experiencing the constant flow of thoughts. We're caught up in them. It creates a lot of attachment and aversion. And then there's also imbalance that happens between the humors, between the elements of the body, between the humors of phlegm, wind, bile, and phlegm. And then based on that imbalance, it leads to illness. There's so much there are so many health problems that come as a result of stress. And the stress is really fueled by the thinking, the constant proliferation of discursive thought. So by relaxing the mind and settling the mind, this is part of the process, is seeing that, recognizing it. And as these thoughts arise, we also don't want to, we really have an attitude of neutrality. We're just observing. We're not getting involved. We're not accepting some thoughts and rejecting others. Oh, this is a good thought. That was a good one. I want to have more of those thoughts. Or this is a bad thought. I don't want that thought. We're just observing as they arise and dissolve. And just allowing the mind to naturally settle into its own intrinsic awareness. Is that helpful?
That was excellent, yeah. Thanks.
So I have a question. Yeah. So in terms of object meditation, when the first one, when you use the breath, right? So we can normally choose only one object at a time, right? So if we use, for example, we use object, breath as meditation object. What does she recommend? Because there are breath, the general breath awareness feeling, or the movement of the stomach, which I'm used to do, is easier for me, or the breath in and out the nose. But you can't have the awareness at the same time in all of this.
You can?
You can.
You
well,
cannot.
You normally have to choose one, right? Or naturally, right? What does Anila recommend?
Like specifically with the breath?
The breath, yeah. What would be a better
point of
part of and also I find a little confusing when I do Omahom meditation. For Omahom, I'll be using the sound of Omahom as object, or the sound as well as the breath, because then I see myself manipulating the breath going down.
I noticed that too.
Yeah. Then when the mind gets settled, then automatically you can't do this whole time Omahom, right? Because as the meditation goes on, more settled into 10 minutes into, of course you're not counting anymore. Naturally, you don't want to count, you want to be just observing the breath. So find that a little bit of artificial, a little confusing, how to do.
Tini dua ni yore, tampo gombe kala, gombe pena the migi yena, mikten yena. Tini morangi nyamnyong la nini chine pena di ne yu chik mato yu mangpo yang mo ramanda mambo neya kapore pena muk tang chepe katla tini yang pena di na na ne chilo yung yar yung the na nang ching che chogere yang na e toko yar mar che yang na pena ulam di chorwa che tini chiki sambala di pena gi nang ne yu yaksho gare
yu yashi
pena mikten yaksho pena
어때 수도 다야
kain sana tsangma yang du chipala che tu pyo ma
레레레 나그때 조고나는 야텐 센텐시인데 나 람뇽메 나타나 파라야마스 우경기도 내가 레마도 바다티 나오는 뭐 야선데 남중 무슨 로요 내가 진바마지 다다 나는 선로 반대야 레마 쉬외제 야즈송 마즈송 이하노 방 반대야 마도 쉬외제 요 말이스 다다 나는
So she said that as far as like which object or what aspect of the breath to use as your object, that's really like a personal choice, kind of based on what is the most predominant sensation for you, that's easiest for you to rest your attention on. She said in her case, actually, she hasn't, like the movement of the abdomen is not something, it's not a way that she's used to, using that as the object to rest the awareness on, except for in the case of like pranayama, which we did this morning. So she said in our tradition, mostly it's like following it and then at the nostrils, really the sensation of the air through the nostrils. But it really is a matter of what is the most effective method for you personally. She said, but you don't want to get caught up in like thinking too much about it. Oh, now the breath is gone here. And like, you don't want to elaborate apart from there just being an easy way for you to rest your attention on the breathing process. Dine di yang natsong, di tesa go, di dorje depa di tesa go tom yore gayan sena, pena gare de ja, Ram chea yurebe pena da om hong di da yang na gain sena nika yona tesa kale kapo da chagi yure la song pena wait that's cool gain sena de lung no tang chebe kala pena rangshin dog yurwa ina de oma hong dam yamdu yena dine tesa gare la ko gere Betsun Rawaja, da no, dine par do, dine rangshin rawa mayimba changi rawa, dine go tesa tongi.
이제 가 이제 라히마야 다티산노 땅고 말이스. 자삼 이제 진짜 마지 또 홍도데. 당 제르나시 뭐 마땅 카페테 마다 자삼 마도 에 도도제 안제서 오와 텔라다 조타 칸데요. 이제 대산노 땅고 말이스.
이냥 디 당 타타 냠두 도고와 도 요레베.
뭐 타타 냠드 도데나 자라.
그래.
자테산네 마도 뭐 냠드 도선산 도 말이스.
Yeah. Dini mola
sem maragalaso ni tia kare kapore te dimbare no to sem ni yo ma sem son da te pena po na ka po na do sango go te po na ti go na de go yang go na so san te san no ta yang po ta ni ka ta te nyam de ne to
So she said, clarifying, and I didn't get to like the second part of what you said, but she said, it's more the sound than the breath. And she said, you're just kind of, mentally reciting Om, Ahom lightly with the rhythm of the breath. But it's not that like first of all, it's not like the Om, Ahom are like solid things that you're meditating on. It's just the sound, the mental sound, Om, Ahom, kind of lightly united with the rhythm of the breathing. She said, you're exactly right. The mind can't think of two things at the same time. So if you're trying to get, the recitation, the breath, like perfectly lined up, then that's going to create like conflict. So it's just mainly the sound that you're resting with. And she said, you know, that's an acute observation because the mind really only thinks one thing at a time, even though it might be in rapid succession. Like if we're focusing on our knee pain, you know, then it's our knee pain that becomes the most predominant, even if we have a headache, you know, and then the headache the pain of the headache diminishes if you're focused on the knee and vice versa. So yeah, she said that's, I don't know, so, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Just wanted to thank her for the tip on trying a different mudra. I usually do meditative equipoise, but this one, what's it called? This one? I'm not sure.
The main yorebe, the penalty sarparua, the chaja and nanam chinchia sarpare, penalty young Laviala Tujuche, Gains and a deep Tessa, the Bome Banam Chinsor Yore, then it's Sarpa and Danam Chinchene, there's a Kipo Junzong. They can mean yorebe, chaja.
남주 the means Saja the mixture marka. There you're the Chujing Saja. Chujing Saja dove.
That's Kapara.
They cannot do it. And Namju no to my socket, Nambak at the little. Yata mother Chetanka called Lapa Kayana Kandere.
So she said she's not sure about this. Actually comes from the Hindu tradition, or Indian traditions, and in the Buddhist tradition we mostly do this mudra, but we also just rest our hands sometimes. And she said that she's not sure about a name, but in the Buddhist tradition there is this mudra, which is the mudra of like the generosity of dharma. Or like the mudra of generosity for giving dharma.
Some lolo chair, the end of the thing, Lapa, the dead Nakuna, young, the dead of chair, the dead and Lhasa Yora, Magona, and the young, not the dead also gathered. They not the young, some lolo young.
So the most important thing is just to find a position for your hands that is like a comfortable resting for you in the posture. Because like if you're finding this one uncomfortable, maybe your arms are getting tired, you know, then you're not going to be able to meditate well. So you do want to find something that just you don't have to think about, that feels easy and comfortable.
And I had a question, but from Deeping, I had a really good experience using a different mudra this time. And so I get to this state with calm abiding where the thoughts actually kind of stop coming. I'm denuded the thought process, and I'll get this sort of blissed out kind of body buzz. It kind of feels like you just smoked a cigarette or something. Like you feel very sharp and alert, and it feels very blissful in your body. And I start getting sort of visual kind of things, like a circle sort of closing like that over and over again. This very sort of bliss kind of place. How do you go deeper from that? You feel like this sort of body sort of blissfulness. How do you deepen that experience? Or, you know, with Shamata, is there sort of like a deepest level of calm abiding where like you've got it, and now it's time to go on to different practices?
Simple raw chagi and namto shira meba. Dewa tesa like no dewa lana yang na kipo torwa kipo kana lula yang kipo kitorwa yorwa. Any young nene kana changma changba yimba namshin kitorwa like yorwa kana kasi tama chik timba yimba namshin kitorwa. Deni de young pena de le ting ringwa doya ki tap dawo kare de yang de check deni de mayamba ge kana shine ge nyam ramanda yo chirawa deni shine nune shine yapo check drupa yamba ki tap kare yore pena o da nga shine yapo gonsong yapo drup yin deni da platong gongo de Latong Gomiaki Dudu let yore ha goegi ta garere. So go re.
That Japan, she go the le now mare yina yan dorti je shushana ta koran la chowa le nam to nyuan do la chowa lo ko dale de ha ko ya de pe ya hore yina yan te la ta karesana chapa je ya ma singa chowa ya ko ti le so sa ya ke chapa na chowa do ke ya de la so dawa on me nya ma ko shi de de le ya de je ya ma de ka kare chowa ya ko ti le so na ta de chowa do ke ya de la so na ta na de de na ini koran nam to de na do do re mi de mu zin je ya ma ani ta shine ya ko ti cha so mai na nam to ka se le so na ya yo re 아니 가르쳐 남도데 땡오라 담데데 땡이 어서 벤나 남칼라 징바가세 쳔나 남칼라 나 징바가세 쳔스나 강함도 어디나지가 양 남칼 징바라 그래 양 당호땡 차니마 동거래 양 징바치게 어서 강함도 디나지게 샘나 차용 그래 돼요 말이지 나 신내 약고 차야 차 마차시 또데 가르쳐 Semne changa de sa tong son de pe sa jin sa tong son de repa ngo de de na tom sendro ma son ba ji jin ya de choya kaya mi ba ni de na de yo mari ya nam to de shan Tela ya pondor chiti na chati ni tel di jisen randa na driyama tende tene sem sa tong sun jo ngana ta ni mai na repa la ngo ton saja chimbo la tende ni ser sa ngam perna me konje na ni ma shad ni ma se chume je pa jana sa sang ni yora oti na chi ge ni de an ni tene pe ya chares do ton ko nam to 가셀란 나게 말.
So she said, so first of all, the fact that you're noticing that you're having less thoughts, this is a good sign, you know, that the mind is really settling. And the experience of pleasure in the body, bliss in the body is also kind of a natural product that comes with building meditative absorption. The important thing is not to become attached to that sensation, to not identify it as good. This is a sign of good meditation. If it's not there, I'm not happy, it's not going right. So you don't become attached to the pleasant sensations. You're not averse to unpleasant sensations. You just continue. What we're doing is staying with awareness, right? So whatever is arising, pleasant, unpleasant, you're continuing with the awareness. So it's not the pleasant that is signifying good meditation. So not becoming attached to those pleasant sensations is actually really important. So not having attachment to pleasant and aversion to unpleasant, just continuing to sustain awareness, no matter whatever is happening. And as she said, there's no sort of solid thing to identify as like, this is meditation. But you just continue with the process. And she said, what kind of the way that we can identify like, oh, now like the Shamata is really developed, I've really gotten to a kind of deep level in my meditative absorption. She said mainly it's that you get to a point where whether there are thoughts or there are no thoughts, it doesn't really make a difference. You're still abiding in a very clear awareness. And even if thoughts are present, it's like they're just experienced like the arising and dissolving of clouds in the sky. And there's no harm that they do to the meditation or to your awareness. If they arise, you're just witnessing their arising and their dissolving, but there's no tendency to get caught in them or to get carried away by them. So that's really kind of the clearest sign. So like no matter how many thoughts that arise at that point, there's no harm to the awareness. The awareness is not affected by that. And in fact, even the more thoughts, sometimes the more that intensifies actually the clarity of awareness, it actually benefits the meditation rather than harming it. So what happens is that shamatha evolves on its own into the next level, whether, we call it vipassana or mahamudra, where the meditation becomes the union of clarity and emptiness, and we're really abiding in the brilliant luminosity of awareness. So that's another quality, is the clarity piece, or the luminosity aspect. So she said, and there's no need to make an effort to sustain mindfulness, because mindfulness is so unshakable. The awareness is just so strong at that point that it doesn't require any effort. And the meditative absorption becomes really, really stable. So there's really no shakeability to it, and there's also no tendency to get carried off. And so it's really, there's not, she said, and it becomes the example that's given is that it's all the kind of darkness of, the mental darkness is really cleared away, like light, bringing a light or a lit butter lamp into a dark space, that awareness becomes very clear, that it's very illuminated and brilliant and clear. And so these, that would be a sign of, really developed shamatha meditation. She said, and she repeated at that point, no matter how many thoughts might arise, it doesn't do any harm to awareness. You're abiding really stably within the clarity of intrinsic awareness.
Nuance in the Mampoyora, the Chashidan Tomomaja Chado, the son, young Doris, then this and Bomban Bombatala, Nimon Chuncha, Tipotala, shaking the rock. Kanisinata, Chugola show, Chugo show at Tanke, of the Kalamaya Pochaya, the Kale Kapodi, Yina Kale, Kalam, Nimate, Yard Chindo, Take Yard Dodo. I see Miller to get Chimbo, Lama to get Chimbo, the Gompala Hapsan Chimbo. Not the top, only get Chita, Tipata, the shading there are Miller to take Jella, met Gimpala, Cheg, Chongala, to get Chonga Chiala, to get the jet summer, the garrison at the Tipeta. That in it, Yamne Jelando, Naja Chair and Dovina, then that the young Sanjaka Chatharis.
So she said it's often said that the kind of sign, the outer sign of increased Dharma study, or really having studied or listened a lot to the Dharma, is a subdued character, that our conduct, that one's conduct becomes purer, that there's the mind that becomes, that one's behavior is sort of more, becomes more, the word is tame, that one, it is the sign of this is the taming of the mind, an actual sort of pacified, sort of more pacified and gentle conduct. And she said, and then the sign of meditation, progress in meditation, is the pacification of afflictive emotions. So somebody, has fewer displays of afflictive mind states, afflictive emotions. So when we enter into the Dharma at first, someone first enters into Dharma practice, and it's not like they immediately become like a good person, or change their behavior. It's a gradual process. The more they hear, the more they learn, the more they study, then gradually you see this change in their behavior and their conduct, right? They tend to improve. As a result of listening, as a result of learning and study. And a product of that is actually kind of like more respect, more respectful behavior, respectful all around, like more respectful towards others, respectful towards teachers, respectful towards, like the objects of devotion, the statues, the tangas, the representations of the Dharma, respect towards one's elders, like the younger would have greater respect and kind of kindness towards their elders. The elders have kindness and respect towards their youngers. Younger people are like senior and newer, maybe students also in that case. And so there's just more general like goodwill and behavior that reflects that comes as a result of listening more to the Dharma, learning and understanding the Dharma more, and then also as a product of meditation, then the mind really becomes more, we have more control over our mind and are less quick to fall into states of meditative afflictive emotion. As a result of our meditative absorption, we're able to avoid becoming as afflicted as we once did. And she said, on the other hand, if we get into the Dharma and then like our pride just kind of gets more and more out of control, then something's not right? We're not doing something right. So if you can maybe we can ask if you have another question, we can have another question, or otherwise, and then maybe after the question
Maybe Zoom.
take a break. Are there any questions on Zoom?
Zoom's all set.
I have one if Zoom doesn't.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Sorry, so yesterday you mentioned generation stage as a form of shamatha practice. So when I'm doing generation stage, it's difficult for me to concentrate on one thing. I'm thinking of mantra radiating, I'm thinking of the adornments, I'm thinking of the image of the deity, I'm thinking of all these things. So do you have a recommendation on one thing to focus on as I'm generating my meditative absorption?
Deni karsam cherem yang shinere sunyamba. Deni kongi nyamyong la cherem gombe kala sem de chik le shamba yang sambiorwa pena nga pitringwa gombiore deni yang tuni so dua yang gombiore deni yang de jinja de tagi zokta dam jinja kado la sopa deni yang sem de chik le shamba yang mambo samlo tangya yorwa yene yang shine tawo yena nune denda sem se chik denda yo chik nim chik la degi yo panang ching denda yin sare samne deni gasi ngaso cherem gombiona deni so chik mikten che gona cherem che pe kala chik di kare de
Katang also Jowo Shakya Jowo Shakya you some sen situgi kada dena la dea tiram. Ni chetan ko da kong dele dele karesana bo tone de nam to de chana nam to de ngola ta la sem sitting ne akale kabo. Chito chenye te je din tiran che per na tela tado la There are they kale kabore. They do Katang is one Tata Koran de Yapori Karesin. Also, Zanda La Gomde, Kujin Chalo, the Tombo Sano Town, they are Hineri, Riade. Indeed, the fly Yapoti Gomsona Gom Tavana, Hined Nature Yaposta Charo. You Karesina the Kujin Chalo some de Kapsala, Jin the Karesin, Kujin Chalo some de Jina Kandreyum, Shana Kandreyum, some Tagaman. Then this is okay. Karesan the degrees. Yashude? In the day, they do and left to the money.
Ine ampena the some day, some Vienna, some day, and Danam Chinchina young digger and do. So she said, right, so yesterday, when we also practiced, for instance, looking at the image of the Jowo in front of us and then closing our eyes and like resting our mind on the visualized form. So that resting on the visualized form of the deity is a form of Shamata. She said, but it's not like to really like just have one point of focus and stay there completely is really difficult. It doesn't really happen that way, right? So sometimes, just like some of you were expressing, we have the thoughts that arise, and then our meditation becomes recognizing the empty essence of those thoughts. And then our mind comes back to resting. And then there's another, but all of this process is actually settling the mind. It's developing the ability for the mind to rest and to abide, in sort of this kind of still awareness. So actually what you're describing of what your experience is with the meditation, with the generation stage is actually shamatha. So it is, because our focus moves around a little bit. Maybe at times we can stay more stably with one aspect of the visualization, but we practice, she said, in the generation stage, really moving to different attributes of the deity's form to clarify the visualization, like moving from the ornaments, like focusing maybe on the eyes and then different aspects of the deity's form, moving the visualization around a little bit, and then eventually it becomes sort of clearer as a whole, and then there becomes sort of like the brilliance of the visualization, or the clarity aspect of the visualization can really come forth, and the mind can abide there. It's something that it develops over time, but it isn't necessarily like incorrect to have sort of the more of the movement to the different aspects of the visualization that you're speaking to. It's still calm abide. It still becomes shamatha. Is that?
O excellent precious mind, where his form may arise, where his form may not climb, it will increase higher and higher.
Thank you.
I think this is great.
15-minute break there.
Will you come out tomorrow?
Yes,
Yes, so we can meet back here in 15 minutes.